Lewellyn, and as Jonathan mentioned, I am the Spectrum Manager for John Deere. I'm also the first Spectrum Manager in the 175-year history of the company, so that should give you a little bit of an idea as to where we're headed. We don't just make big iron anymore. As Mark Pryor mentioned, our machines are getting much more technologically oriented these days, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So here's our problem statement. But before I get started, I did want to take a little bit of an audience poll here. I'm curious as to how many people have a background in agriculture. A few. Okay, the people that didn't raise your hand, I'm kind of curious. Don't you like to eat? So everybody is involved in agriculture, no matter what. We all like to eat. So our problem is that we're facing a mobile broadband gap in rural America, as our previous speakers have mentioned. So here's our outline for today. We'll talk a little bit about some mega trends going on around the world, a little bit about something that we call JD Link, and talk about some infrastructure gaps, as we've already alluded to, as well as end-to-end applications and looking at some strategy and ways forward. So let's go on. So I know some of you people are familiar with agriculture, things going on in the world today, but maybe not everyone is. One of the things that's happening is more and more people are being born every minute. So in 2050, we're going to have about 9 billion people to feed in the world. So that's something that's going on outside of us, and it's happening, and it's something nothing's going to change. Along with that, believe it or not, we have growing global prosperity. So more people have more money to spend, which usually means they like a better diet, which means more protein in their diet, which means more feed to feed the protein. So that's good for us. We also have people moving from rural areas to urban areas around the world. So the people left in the rural areas still have to grow their food, so they need more technology and more communications to make that happen. So that's just some major trends that are going on, which I think bode well for agriculture. But what I want to talk about, though, is precision agriculture. Now, I'm actually pretty new to John Deere. Last week was my year anniversary. So before I came to work there, I did not know what precision agriculture is. So if you don't know, don't feel bad. One of the things that Senator Mark Pryor mentioned is maybe people here inside the Beltway have been a little bit disconnected from the land. Well, I was probably one of them. I didn't realize what was going on with precision agriculture. We are using GPS, for example, to control our machines so that we can drive them perfectly parallel rows up and down the fields. Well, what does that do for you? Well, if you're a human driver driving a 30-foot combine, you can hardly see the engine of the machine. So you're going to overlap maybe about 3 feet as you go up and down the road. If we control your machine using GPS, we can take that accuracy down to about 1 inch. So we've just eliminated 3 feet of overlap on a 30-foot machine. We've just saved you 10%. 10% time, 10% labor, 10% cost off the bat. And that's just getting started. So that's just a little bit about what precision ag is. It also helps do better uses of resources. We can minimize our inputs. We can minimize where we spray insecticides or pesticides, and we can improve yields. So it's about minimizing inputs and maximizing yields. So again, what do we do with GPS? Well, it enables farmers to do a whole lot of things better. We had a little conversation with Senator Pryor talking about history of technology. Well, in one sense, John Deere has always been about technology. Even though we're known for tractors and combines, our founder, John Deere, really was a John Deere, came out with the world's most famous stainless steel plow back in the 1800s, the plow that cut up the plains. Okay, we've always been about technology. So now we have GPS embedded in virtually all of our machines, and we're using that to drive them more efficiently and better. And now we're moving into another kind of state of our ecosystem that requires a lot more communication and connectivity between all of these machines. And so we're going to talk a little bit about as we get down a little bit farther. Okay, so this is kind of our vision for John Deere. We call it Farm Sight. So we have all these machines running around on the left-hand side using GPS, doing all this precision agriculture. Could be construction. We have construction machines also. And we have something called JD Link. Now, you may not have heard of JD Link before, but you already know what it is. It's a cell phone modem. It's a cell phone modem that we've been installing in our agriculture and construction machines, and we're going to get into a little bit more detail about that down the road. So the idea, though, is that these machines are now not just tractors and combines, but actually mobile data collection platforms. We're able to take data about the machine performance, about the field conditions, and about the yields coming off of the machines, and transmit that data through JD Link, cell phone connection, to my John Deere, big, huge servers in Lewellyn, Illinois, and then that data is analyzed, collected, and used by the farmers to make better decisions, and that data can be accessed by their trusted partners if they give permission. So that's kind of the overall ecosystem that we're talking about. So, why do this? I've heard stories about farmers where there's been a farmer son and father, and the son goes out and buys John Deere GPS controlled machines. And the farmer father first says, I don't even want anything to do with that newfangled technical machine. Then he sees what it can do. Now the farmer's father won't get into a machine without GPS. It's become that critical of a functionality for them. If their GPS receiver doesn't work that day, they don't farm. That's how important it is. When mechanization was first introduced to agriculture about 100 years ago, that was the single biggest increase in productivity. It's been projected that bringing IT and all this communication to bear on agriculture is going to have the same impact that mechanization did. That's how big and important this is going to be. So this is a kind of a micro level example as to what kind of money can be saved at a farmer level. So we have two examples. The first one's a relatively small farmer, maybe a couple thousand acres. The second one's much, much bigger. But the point is that this technology helps all sizes of commercial farmers, whether they're big or small. Now, of course, it helps the bigger guys more, but it's still a value proposition that even small farmers utilize this technology. Now, if we take these examples and we sort of aggregate them across the entire country to all of agriculture, as Senator Pryor mentions, the number one or two business in most states, we're talking about billions of dollars. Billions of dollars in input costs saved, and billions of dollars in terms of additional revenue from increased yields. Okay, so that's billions with a B. So that's why these things are worth doing. Okay, so we talked about JD Link. We've been installing it on our construction machines since 2006, and we liked it so much, we started to put it on our big ag machines in 2011. So, if you have really good eyesight, you might be able to see some dots on this map. Probably over there in Appalachia, Virginia, maybe in this area. A few more out in Colorado, a couple in Arizona. Every dot is an example of where a machine successfully called in and made one of these cell phone calls. So this is our first year when we first started putting these cell phone modems on construction equipment. So now we're going to jump forward to 2008. We sold a hell of a lot more machines. And now you can see we're forming lines in some states. So that's probably along a roadway, maybe a waterway, maybe it's a canal, maybe it's locks, who knows. Also in urban areas, you can see construction equipment going on. And it's hard to tell in 2008, watch North Dakota. Something was going on up there. So a lot of activity up in North Dakota, a whole lot more going on in 2010. Again, this was doing so well, we liked the data we're getting, the customers liked it, so we added it to the ag side in 2011. Now we've got machines calling in all over the place. Not only are they calling in, they're calling in from areas where we don't typically have people calling in from before. So one of the points that I think we need to make, maybe to the carriers, maybe to the infrastructure folks, is that you can't just count people anymore. You've got to count modems. So you've got to count modems on combines, tractors, farm equipment, mining equipment, all this stuff. So you might have a business case in areas where You didn't have a business case before. Okay, so 2011 is our last year that we have complete data for. And if we extend those trends, this is the future in 2018. Are we going to need cell phone towers? Everywhere. Okay, so this is a little more detailed map. Now, I'm not from the Midwest, so it took me a while to kind of figure out where this was at here. But we're kind of looking at Iowa. It's kind of hard to tell, but the river going down the middle here is the Missouri River, and the one on the right is the Mississippi, I believe, and Iowa's in the middle. And then there's the surrounding states. So what these are showing is that the green dots are where we successfully made a cell phone call. And the white dots are where we tried to make one and we couldn't. So our own empirical data, I guess would be the right way to put it, is saying we've got about a 70% chance now of being able to make that call. But if nothing is done, our data rates are going to be going up, our requirements are going to be going up, that's going to drop to 50% in a year or two, and that's not good at all. So that's one reason why we're here, to try to promote investment in rural broadband. Now, we've already established that maybe some of us here in DC aren't that linked to the land, and we've established that maybe not everybody's involved in agriculture, but yet you all know what the future is for agriculture. Why? Because it's the same thing we saw with smartphones. We've already had a couple of discussions today about smartphone apps providing growth in data, and this is what happened. So the yellow bars across the bottom there, relatively flat, are voice requirements over cell phone networks. The exponentially growing red bars are data requirements. What happened? Data jumped like crazy when the smartphone got introduced. The same thing is going to happen in agriculture. Right now, we're transitioning from a 2G modem to a 3G modem, eventually to LTE speeds. So the same thing's going to happen. Data requirements, applications, ag apps, whole new environment, whole new industry to develop these smart applications, just like on Senator Ag's app he showed us earlier today. So, what are we talking about? Now, I actually should update this slide and delete the word new. These are already being done. So, for example, in agriculture, grain bin monitoring. Okay? Anybody ever crawl up a ladder and look inside a silo to see how much grain is in there? Maybe, maybe not. Not a fun job. Kind of dangerous. A lot easier to put a sensor inside the silo. The sensor tells you how much grain. Maybe tells you the moisture content. Maybe that's tied to a fan, and the fan comes on when the moisture content gets too high. All done by end-to-end communications. So, kind of as a wrap-up, kind of is what we're doing all this for. It's about increased productivity on a machine level. It's about increased efficiency on a fleet level. And it's about sustainable environmental stewardship. Farmers take care of the land. It's their land. It's where their income comes from. We want to be able to do it in a way that's sustainable and documentable. Let me give you an example of that. The folks in this room, most of you I think live around here, familiar with Chesapeake Bay. The EPA recently increased requirements regarding water runoffs into the bay for this watershed. The people out in the Mississippi watershed are concerned that that might happen in their neck of the woods. So if they can document and show the EPA, hey, we're already taking care of our land, we're already putting the minimum amount of fertilizer down that we need to do our jobs, then maybe they won't get regulated. So it's a big thing for documentation as well. All right, I can't leave the podium without thanking some members that are here today. As a result of this effort, we formed our own rural broadband telecommunications group. We're going to be meeting on Thursday. So these are the folks that also helped sponsor today's event. So I know a few of them are out in the audience, so I wanted to give them credit where credit's due. So we have American equipment manufacturers, and American Soybean, and Farm Bureau, and Trimble Navigation, another GPS manufacturer, as well as John Deere and the corn growers. So it's not just us, there's a lot of other folks that have the same problems and the same issues. All right, so this is my last slide. So this is in terms of where we're going next, talking to telecom experts like PCIA, NTCA, a few other folks that might be in the room. Business case. Well, I'll talk about the business case. I believe that possibly the growth of M2M will make marginal areas economical, or not economical now, and also the possibility of co-location on towers. That's one reason I'm interested in hearing from the other panelists. I'd like to talk to people in transportation, I'd like to talk to people in public safety, I'd like to talk to people in utilities. These are all people that have a need for towers on what I would call a geographic basis as opposed to a population basis, which is the same thing that we're looking for. So maybe if those groups, which are somewhat disparaging, or not disparaging, disparate, and maybe not talking to one another, can get together and talk to one another, maybe there's some co-location opportunities in rural America. So that's something that we're definitely going to be pursuing as one of our strategies. So if you haven't been paying attention, and all you want to know is one takeaway from today, I would say, look at my last words here. If we work the land, that needs to have broadband. Thank you.